We'll go ahead and get started. So I'm Jen Miller. I'm the director of the League of Women Voters of Ohio. And who are you?
Hello, League members. I am Gretchen James. I'm the Community Affairs Manager for the Franklin County Board of Elections.
Okay, so today we're going to talk absentee voting. So what's step one for voting absentee?
So step one for voting absentee, and I know that there are some folks who aren't necessarily from Franklin County, but the beginning of the steps that I give you will be the same for everyone, okay? So getting started, first what you will do is you'll go to our website, which is www.franklincountyohio.gov, and you will go to our absentee section. And you will look for this application, okay? So this is going to be your absentee application. You'll fill that out completely and send that to your local Board of Elections. So if you're here with us in Franklin County, you'll be sending that to 1700 Morris Road. Once we have your application, we process it. So once we go through all that fun stuff, and we always guide you through this. So if there's anything that's missing on this form, our team will reach out to you and allow you to correct it. You should always make sure that you're filling out any form that we give you in its entirety. Okay, so that'll be your first name, your last name, your address, your email address, if there's a space that's available, and your phone number. So then that way we can reach back out to you and help you fix or correct any missing information. So once that form is processed, we will mail you this fancy packet. Yes, that's right. This is your ballot. So look for your election mail coming directly to you. You'll open it, and inside you will have, and I'll go through each thing. So this is your return envelope. So once you've completed your information, you'll put everything in here, and that's your ballot, your ID form, and your ID envelope and your ballot. Everything goes in this envelope to return back to us. So you'll have one of those. You'll have an ID envelope, okay? So ID envelope, let me move it in here just so you can see. So anything in yellow, we want you to fill out. So the good rule of thumb for any Board of Elections is we've always highlighted, the color might be different, but we've always highlighted key information that we need you to fill out and submit back to us. So for here in Franklin County, our form is yellow. The form spaces are yellow. So fill that out in its entirety. And that is going to be your name, your address, your date of birth. So one thing to really be certain of is a lot of times when we're filling out forms, we fill them out really quickly. When you see a date here, we don't want the date that you're completing your ballot. We want your birth date, okay? Your birth date. Additionally, we want your form of identification. So one thing to remember is that when you're filling this out, this is you voting from the comfort of your own home, but you're going through the same process you would have at your polling location. Okay, so when we say that we need your validator information, your ID, so we can identify you and check you on the rolls, we mean we want the last 4 digits of your social security number, or on your driver's license, there is a driver's license number. So you can put that driver's license there instead if you prefer. So when you're helping voters to fill these out, or when they're asking you questions, just always make sure to tell them, fill out anything that's highlighted on your forms, fill them out in their entirety, and always be sure to put your identifying information. So either your last 4 digits of your social or your driver's license number. Cool. And in case any of this information slips your mind, it's fine. We always give you a form. So this handy dandy form here is an information guide, and it will have all the information on here to direct you through this process. When you are returning your ballot, you have to make sure that you are including the correct amount of postage. For a 1-page ballot, it will be 1 forever stamp. For a 2-page ballot, it will be 2 forever stamps. So just remember, if it's 1 page, 1 stamp, 2 page, 2 stamps. So that will ensure that it always gets back to the Board of Elections. Also in there will be your ballots. Okay, so this is just a sample ballot here that I've printed off, but the ballot, it looks just like this. You'll always want to make sure that you instruct voters that you're assisting in turning that page, right? Sometimes there are multiple pages on a ballot. I always ask them, check double back and forth. Additionally, we always want them to fill out that circle in its entirety, okay? That allows us to feed the ballot seamlessly into the ballot counters, and will help ensure the accuracy of the ballot, okay? So it's just a good rule of thumb. It's just like on your standardized test, you fill in the circle all the way. And so once you've completed your ballot, you will then place it in the RD envelope. All right. So the only thing we want in here is that ballot. Okay.
Okay.
This is for your protection. This secures your vote. Vote is always, of course, confidential and private. You'll place it in that envelope and you'll seal it. Okay. Now, that ballot, for its integrity, then goes into the return envelope. So once you place it in the return envelope, and you've made sure that you have affixed the correct postage.
Which, where do we get that? Oh, we get that on the info sheet. Yeah, okay.
But before we seal it, what do? We give you another checklist. So you can go through that checklist and make sure that you have completed all the steps. So it'll remind you to fill out your ID envelope. It will remind you that make sure you filled out your ballot, that you've included it, that you've included all the postage. One other caveat is that if you have, for some reason, received some information from us asking us for your identification, yes, you can still fill out your absentee ballot. What we will then ask you to do is to make a copy of your ID. So now some folks have accidentally sent their IDs back to us. We will make sure you get them back. However, do not send us your actual ID. What we will ask you to do is just to make a copy of your preferred form of ID. So once you've done that, then that preferred form of ID would then go into the ballot envelope, the return envelope, actually.
Okay. So it's a little bit complicated, but we're going to remember the steps again. So the first thing you do is you have to request your absentee ballot to be mailed to you. And you have a form that you can get from your county board of elections office or from the Secretary of State office,
Yes.
voteohio.gov. So you got to get that in. You can mail that to them. You can drop it off to the BOE. You can put it in the drop box, but you need to request that the ballot is sent to you. Second, when the ballot comes, you just follow all of your instructions. You complete your ballot. So you put in your bubbles, you prepare your envelope. Remember, there's two envelopes on purpose, right? One that is for the mail to process, but there's a second one for the Board of Elections, just to make sure that you are a lawful voter and this is a lawful ballot, right?
Mhm.
So you put all that in there, you do all your check marks, you check for how much postage you need, you mail that. And then finally, what happens once it's in there? Once you put it in the mail, what can you do?
So if you are like me and you trust, but you want to verify, we have an application called Ballot Tracks. This is a great software program that a lot of county board of elections, including Franklin County, is a partnership with. And so you can track your ballot. Basically, you go in, you sign up for the application, and the link to it is on the Franklin County Board of Elections webpage, the Secretary of State's webpage, and I'm sure on your local county board of elections webpages as well. You will then sign up and you can determine how often you receive notices about your absentee ballot. You have the preference and the option to receive information from the date that you submit your application form for your absentee ballot, all the way to the ballot being completed by you, mailed and received by us. So every step of the way throughout the whole process, you would receive a text message or an email alerting you to the fact that we've received it, or we were issuing your ballot right now. So it's a great tool. We highly recommend it. And it's just nice at the security and it just gives you friendly reminders. Hey, your ballot's been accepted, or hey, did you check? So it's great. We highly recommend Ballot Tracks.
So if anyone in the state of Ohio can go to voteohio.gov/track, you put your county in there, put your voter information in there, and then you can track it. So we have some questions. What should someone do? Well, when is a ballot due to the Board of Elections?
That's an excellent question. Excellent question. So you have two options. You can either drop your ballot off at the Board of Elections, say you're running out of time or you didn't have a stamp, you can always drop it at the Franklin County Board of Elections. We have secure drop boxes that are available 24 hours a day, and they're secure, they're monitored. But the deadline to do that would be on election day at 7:30 p.m. So if you're dropping it off in person, 7:30 p.m. on election day. If you're mailing it, it must be postmarked on November the 7th. Okay, so the postmark must be November 7th, and we must receive it within 10 days from November 7th.
Great.
Okay.
Can someone ask for their absentee ballot online?
So you can only print your form off from online. Unfortunately, you cannot fill the form out online in Ohio yet.
Is it true that the Postal Service will deliver an absentee ballot if there is insufficient postage, but the Board of Elections has to pay the postage due?
That is correct. That is correct. So one nice thing about this process is that it's always geared towards the favor of our citizens. So if for some reason a stamp falls off or there's not enough, yes, election mail, as long as it's in your proper envelope and marked with the election mail logo, it will be received to the Board of Elections. The post office does that as a courtesy. However, yes, the Board of Elections will be charged.
And I just wouldn't want to risk it. It might take a little bit longer that way. So if you got your 2 stamps, put them on there.
Agree. Agree.
So, I like this process because it's really good if you want to just do this at home, right? But it does and there's a lot of steps. Why are there so many steps?
Oh, good question. Why are there so many steps? Well, so there's a lot of reasons for that. I will just say, in the infinite wisdom of our Ohio Revised Code and our Secretary of State, this is the best process that we've come up with for the safety and security of your vote. Okay, so the 2 envelope system. We've all received things in the mail and they've kind of been a little beaten up, right? Maybe chewed through the machinery just a hair. So in this case, that envelope not only will allow you to provide your identification information, but it also helps protect your ballot. Okay, so we want to make sure that ballot comes back to us in the most pristine, best condition possible for the ease of being able to record that voter's intent. All right, so that's why you have the 2 steps. Additionally, we like to give you reminders. So we always want to help guide you through this process. The multiple steps allows us to help work with you through each step. And it breaks down what you have to do into bite-sized pieces.
I like that. I also think, let's just keep in mind that absentee balloting, actually, when you do that, you prove your identity twice. So this idea that it's not secure, first, you're showing your identity when you request the ballot. And if for some reason when you're requesting the ballot, there's something wrong, then you're going to get contacted by the Board of Elections to prove that you are a lawful voter. And then secondly, there's identification when you return the ballot to prove that you are returning a ballot that is yours to cast, right?
Correct.
So this is how absentee balloting is secure. I have another question about the last date someone should ask for a ballot, so I mean, as soon as possible, because it's a mail intensive process, right? But
yes, exactly. Sooner the better. Sooner the better. So according to law, November the 7th is the last day that we can receive actually November 5th. I apologize. It's November 5th. November 5th is the last day that the Board of Elections will process absentee ballot requests that they've received. So it would have to be in hand in the office by November the 5th. I would say always sooner the better. Let's, the mail delivery is fantastic. The post office is great and they're great partners, but there's sometimes a high volume. And so when you think through this process, if you're sending us your application form, we then have to process it. So that's a couple days, right? Then we'll issue your ballot. That's a couple days for it to reach you. Then you, of course, research on the League of Women Voter website your candidates and issues and fill out your ballot and you return it to us. That's another couple of days. So that's why we always say the sooner the better. Okay.
Right, because if you wait till November 5th to get your request to the Board of Elections, you might not have your ballot in time to return it either in person on election day or to put it in the mail the day before. So the sooner the better on all of that. What are the rules on bringing other people's ballots to the drop box? And I can help with this one.
That's a great one.
It is a good one.
That's a good question. So it has to be someone who is a direct relationship to you. So it would have to be your spouse, your child, your parent, or your grandparent. That's it. So it has to be a direct familial connection to you. And honestly, that's what we would want, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, you are entrusting your vote, which is making your voice heard. So it's going to be someone who's very close to you who will deliver it. But again, spouse, mother, father, grandparent, or child. That's the only one who could drop off your ballot for you.
Great. Now, let's say that for some reason you request a ballot and maybe just there was a snafu with the mail, which sometimes happens, and it doesn't come to you or it doesn't come in time. And it's election day. You requested your ballot, maybe you don't have it. What do you do?
You've requested your ballot, you don't have it, it's election day. You can always go and vote at your polling location on election day. Okay, now here's the caveat to that. If you have requested an absentee ballot and it shows on the poll book that you have requested an absentee ballot, you will be voted as what we call a provisional voter. Okay, so that is just, once again, another layer of the checks and balances that we have in election processing and security. So you'll sign in, you'll be directed to a friendly poll worker who will help you, who will get you a ballot. You'll fill that out and then you'll place it into what we call a provisional voter envelope. You'll seal it and then you'll turn it into that poll worker and it will be secured and returned to the Board of Elections. So now that allows us to see where the disconnect may have happened. If, one, it's a check for us on our processes. Why did this voter not receive their information timely? What can we be doing better? But additionally, let's make sure that this voter is the same voter and that we have the correct information for each of them. Additionally, this also is a protection. So that one, if you've never received a ballot, then your provisional vote is what we will count on for the election. If you did receive it and, for whatever reason, the husband picked it up and returned it and you didn't think that they did, then that's the vote that we will count and not the provisional. So once again, it's always a checks and balance. It's a safety and security function, but we never turn away a voter. We are always erring in the side of making your voice heard. So please, if you have any doubts, call us. If you want to doubly make sure, go to your polling location. The poll workers will help you to vote so that we're making sure your voice is heard.
So yeah, you should not be turned away. If you go to vote and there's something wrong, you don't have the right ID or they have in a system that you request an absentee ballot, you should not be turned away. You'll be given a provisional ballot. And the whole idea there is that it's verified and then counted. So I think, unless we have any other questions, I think we're going to call this one a day. This is our first democracy dialogue. I'm really glad to have Gretchen James with us. So I think the long and short of it is I have takeaways. The first is, this might be my most important thing because this is my checklist that tells me everything I need to do once I get my absentee ballot. And if I really am following all that and doing all the check marks, I should be in good shape. The second thing that I am taking away from this is that the boards of elections is full of people who want to help us vote. So if we're confused or we have a problem, to call the Board of Elections, or you can call the League, or you can call 866-OUR-VOTE, which are nonpartisan resources for you. If you're going to vote absentee, get your request mailed to the Board of Elections ASAP, then research your ballot at vote411.org. Once you get that ballot, fill everything out, do all the things that you need to do with all the envelopes, understand how many stamps you need, and get that sucker back in the mail ASAP or into the Dropbox, remembering that if you're mailing it, it's got to be postmarked the day before Election Day. If you're delivering it to the Board of Elections, that's got to be at the Board of Elections Dropbox or inside by 7:30 p.m. on Election Day.
That's correct.
Okay, we thank you. Go voting.
Go voting. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.